What is up, guys? Karataka here, and today I'm here with a Digimon deck profile. So we're doing the first BT-17 deck profile. We're doing Gallantmon, of course, my boy. Gotta do him first. I try to make this deck as playable as possible, but there's just too many decks in the format right now that just have ways to protect themselves from deletion. So there's some ways you have to work around it. And so yeah, here is the deck profile. It's still a lot better than it was before, so I'm glad that we got some support. Yeah, so let's get right into the deck profile. So for the Digitamons, we're actually running 4 of the BT-12 Digimon. This is one that increases the pop threshold by 1000. So this deck, we are playing a more pop-based build. I think moving forward, it is a little bit more important to get rid of potential Digimon that can blast Digivolve. So we are going to be running the package that increases your pop thresholds. And I did try running the new Digimon that lets you pop a 3k for 1 cost, but I feel like having a higher threshold is more important than just popping more times. Yeah, so we're running 4 of these. You can also alternately run the one that helps you draw if you need it, but I feel like the 1k does make a huge difference in this build. So we're running that. Next, for the level 6s, we're running 2 of the BT-12 Gallantmon. This is the one with Raid, and on Evolution, you can also pop something 6k or less. If you have the right line built, you can pop 10k or less, which is pretty good. It gets rid of most level 5 and belows, so there's that. And it also lets you trash the top card of your opponent's deck on attack if you didn't pop something 6k or less or 10k or less in the event that you do have the sources. So pretty good. Just lets you bypass, some of your opponent's security if you need it. So if you are raiding your opponent's Digimon, you can just use this to trash your opponent's source instead. So you can bypass decks that are running security bombs. Next, we're also running 2 of the Dukemon from BT-12. This one is a card I'm experimenting with that's actually a lot better than I thought it would be. Mainly because on Evolution and on attack, you can pop something 8k or less. If you have the right line built up, you can pop something 13k or less. And it also gives you blocker and plus 3k if you didn't pop anything, which does help. And on your turn, if your memory is over 0 memory, then this card is not affected by your opponent's effects. So this is not affected by all your opponent's effects. So it's a pretty strong protection, but it only works on your turn, and there are some conditions like having your memory past 0. So this only works while you're blitzing, but it's still better than nothing. Having protection is better than nothing. There are a lot of ways to play around it on your opponent's turn, like any sort of removal that they can use on their turn. But this gets over security bombs, gets over blast evolutions, so it's pretty good. And being able to pop twice on evolution and on attack is also very strong. So yeah. We are running 2 of those. Next, we're also running 2 of the Digimon Ace from LMO3. So this is one of your Blast Evolution cards that you're running. The fact is, on Evolution on place, you can pop something 11k or less. And then on both turns, when this card will be removed from the battle area, you can play a Gallantmon from this card's source or from your trash. And then you can put this card underneath that new card, so you don't trigger overflow first. And you do get a new Gallantmon on the body. And it does have an inherent ability. The inherent ability is on both players' turns, this Digimon's DP-based deletion effects, the threshold increased by 5,000. So it's actually huge. It's really good for that. So we're running 2 of the Digimon Ace, and for level 7s we're running 2 of the Gallantmon Crimson Mode Ace. So this one is on place, and on evolution you can pop something 15k, or you can pop a total of 15k worth of opponent's Digimon's board, and if you have obviously cards in this card source, you can further increase the threshold, which is pretty good. And on attack, for every 10 cards in both you and your opponent's trash, you can trash the top card of your opponent's security. This card I think has more applications in decks outside of Gallantmon, because a lot of red decks can take advantage of this, but it's pretty good for this deck as well. So we're running 2 of those. So the level 6 lineup, we're running a pretty diverse lineup just because we do want to have answers for all different sorts of decks. And since one of the advantages of Dukemon having so much support is that. So if you want to run something else, if you want to run the Rush Dukemon, you can, but currently for this lineup I don't have space for it, and I think these ones are currently the better answers for the current meta. Alternatively, you can also run the EX2 Dukemon if you don't want to run any of these ones. That one also helps you pop some of your opponent's Digimon. So yeah, but I feel like the new Dukemon sort of does a better job just because you get added protection as well. So let's move on to the level 5. So we're running 3 of the Mega Growlmon, the Royal Growlmon from BT-12. Helps you pop something 4k or less, and if you did not pop, you can Digivolve into a Gallantmon card for 1 cost less. So it's pretty good. This one does not specify a Gallantmon specifically. You can Digivolve into anything with Growlmon, with Gallantmon in its name. So you can Digivolve into the Digimon because the Digimon is counted as a Chaos Gallantmon. So that will help you with some plays, and you do have more targets with this, which is pretty good. And the inherit skill is at the end of the attack. If there's no Digimon on your opponent's board, you can, and this card's name has Growlmon or Gallantmon, you can get +2 memory back, which is pretty good. Next, we're also running 3 of the War Growlmon from EX3. This one lets you mill the top 3 cards of your deck. You and your opponent both mill the top 3 cards of the deck, and afterwards, if there is 5 cards in either player's trash, then you can play a Gallantmon or a Takado for free. So we're using this as a setup, and if you can't Digivolve afterwards, you can just leave it here and set up for a Blast Evolution on your opponent's turn. So it's pretty good. I wish it did have a inherit skill, but I think the evolution skill does make up for it. It's pretty good. And next we're running 1 Teched-in War Growlmon from BT-17. I was adjusting the ratios for this. I was running 3 of these before, but I feel like running this there's just too much, and it doesn't really do too much. It is pretty good though. On evolution, you can pop something 6k or less, and if you didn't pop, you can get 1 security check. So it combos pretty well with the new Gallantmon. The inherit skill is on both players' turn, when a opponent's Digimon is deleted, then you can unsuspend this card if it has Gallantmon in its name. So this one, mainly I'm using it with the new Takado to biomerge. So I just need the 1 copy, but sometimes the extra security check does help if you go into this one, but I feel like since we are running more of other Gallantmon stuff, so I think being able to Digivolve on the same turn is a little bit more important, and so we're running 3 of the War Growlmon from BT-12 for that reason. Now let's move on to the level 4s. So we're running 3 of the Growlmon from BT-17. This one is one of the cards that help you increase the thresholds. So on evolution, you can pop something 4k or less, and if you did not pop, this card gets +3k. And on the hair skill is on both players' turn. If your memory is less than 0, then you can increase the DP threshold by 2000. We're running the Growlmon from BT-12. This one helps you play a Takado for free if you don't have a Takado on the board already, and the inherit skill gives you +2k. So if you need to beat over Digimon, you still can. And then for the last level 4, running 4 of the Black Growlmon from EX4. This one lets you and your opponent mill the top 2 cards of your deck, and then you can grab a Gallantmon or a Growlmon or a Dukemon from your trash back to your hand. So this is one of the cards you use to set up. It's pretty good. The inherit skill also lets you grab a Gallantmon, Growlmon, or Dukemon on deletion from your trash. So it's pretty good. Keep in mind that you can't use this for biomerge, so sometimes you might, depending on your preference, you might want to bump this down to 3 and then increase one of these to 4. But I like this at 4 just because I want to see it as soon as possible, because it does help speed up the game. And just getting cards in the trash and just grabbing another card back to your hand is just good. So we're running 4 of the black Growlmons. Next, for the level 3s, running 4 of the Gallantmon from EX2. This is still used as the main searcher. You use it to search for Growlmon, Takatos, and your Dukemons, or Gallantmon. So pretty good. And then you're also running 4 of the Gallantmon from BT-17. So this one has a main effect as well, but it's not super useful, but it still comes in handy sometimes. So once per turn, whenever a Gallantmon or a Takato would be played, you can delete something 3k or less. If you didn't delete, you can get one memory back instead. So pretty much, let's make sure Takato's 2 cost or 3 cost, depending which one you're hard casting. And then the inherit skill is the same as the BT-17 Groundmon. So when your memory is less than 0 on both of your turn, your DP-based deletion abilities, the threshold increased by 2,000. So if you have both of these in your line, adding 4k is huge. So it's actually pretty good. Next, for the other level 3s, running the Rush Gallantmon. So this is the one from EX4. If you and your opponent's combined trash is 20 or more, this card gets Rush, which is actually really important for this deck, because you're going to use this along with the Red Scramble to be able to biomerge and then attack with your Groundmon. So yeah, it's pretty important, but you don't want more than 2 or 3 because it doesn't have an inherent ability and it's pretty dead early game. So you just want to potentially mill this with your War Groundmon or Black Groundmon. Having the trash as something that you can use later on. And we're also running the BT-12, 2 of the BT-12 Gallantmons. This is used to search for your Takatos. Takato is good in hand, but it's actually better in trash because there's more ways to play it from trash. And it's less of an investment if you hard cast it. It's more of an investment if you hard cast it from your hand. So I do prefer cheesing it out with your Digimon abilities. But if you don't have Takato, then this is one of the ways to get it. So we're in 2 of those. Ratio-wise, you can kind of adjust it according to your personal playstyle. I personally like to have more of this DP base increase Gallantmon. I like to see it more often, so I'm running 4. But you can definitely run this at 3 and then also run this at 3 if you want to have the DP gain. And it also kind of depends on the environment in your area. If you're running against decks that have very high DPs and you need to raid into them, then you can run this at 3 or 4. But if you'd rather just pop them, then this one is the way to go. So yeah, ratio is pretty flexible. Next, let's move on to Tamers. We're running 3 of the Takato from EX2. So this one just gets you, whenever you delete one opponent's Digimon, you can rest this Tamer to get 1 memory on your turn. And then on the second ability is whenever one of your Dukemon or Groundmon digivolves, it gains Blitz. So it's pretty good. Don't have space to run it at 4 anymore, so we're running this at 3. Next, we're also running 2 of the new Takatos, the BT-17 Takato. Starting main phase, if you have a Gallantmon, Growlmon, or Dukemon card in its name, you can get 1 memory. And then at the end of your turn, you can put this Tamer and a Growlmon and a War Groundmon from your trash underneath one of your Gallantmons to warp into a Gallantmon without paying its cost. So this is actually a really strong effect. It helps speed up the deck a lot. So we're running this at 2, though I do want to run this at 3 probably in a later build, but I think 2 is fine. You see it, I see it enough. Like I see it in most of my games, so I don't really have a problem running it at 2, especially since you can either mill it or draw into it or see it in security. So you'll be seeing at least 1 copy of this every game, and you'll be able to play it with a lot of abilities. So 2 is perfectly fine. If you don't want to run, I'm running 1 of the BT-12 Takado. If you don't want to run this, you can definitely cut this out for a additional new Takado from BT-17. But yeah, it's a pretty good lineup right now, I think. 1 Takado just for a memory setter, sometimes you need it. And it lets you battle merge as well, but it's a main ability, so you do have to pay to do it. So this one is memory setter, and the main skill is same, put this card and a Growlmon and a more Growlmon from your trash underneath one of your Gillmons, and then you can Digivolve into a Gallantmon from your hand by paying its cost, but you can ignore the conditions same as the other one. And then additionally you also get plus 2k. So the 2k does help if you're planning to raid. But yeah, I think this is a pretty good lineup for Takados. Also, I just wanted to run 1 because I have 4 alt RSLVs, so I just wanted to put it in the deck. But yeah, it's totally understandable if you don't want to run this, but I think 1 is pretty good just to have in the deck. If this deck didn't have a way to cheese Takados out from the trash, I probably would run this at 0, but since we do have ways to get it out, 1 is perfectly fine. Alright, next for the options, we are going to be running 3 of the offensive training. This card just helps you search for your combo pieces and also makes Digivolving cheaper later on. So we're running 3 of the offensive trainings like that. Next, we're running 2 of the red Scramble. This card is super clutch for the deck. Oh, this card is so good. So, for those of you who don't know what the Scramble cards do, the main effect is one of your red Digimon can Digivolve into red colored Digimon for 3 costs less. So right off the bat, you're getting 1 memory gain. And then the second ability is at the start of your main phase, you can use the card's delay ability. So this is delay, sorry. This goes into battle area after you use the first effect. The delay ability is you can choose a card from your trash and put it to the top of your deck. And then if you don't have any Digimon on the board, you can play a red card with 2000 DP or less from your trash without paying its cost. So you can use this to set up your Rush Gillmons and just set up for a Battle Merge play if you want. And it's just really good. It helps you get your combo pieces back, helps you set up for your turn. It's just really good. And red, the Gallantmon deck can especially take advantage of this card because you do have a way to rush. So it's just good. And last but not least, we are running 2 of the Crimson Savior. So debating if I want to cut this down to 1, but I think 2 is fine. It lets you reuse your Takados, lets you cheese out some Gillmons if you want. The main effect is from your hand or trash, you can play a Gillmon or a Takado for free, and then this card gets moved to the battle area. And then on both players' turn, if your opponent plays a level 5 or above Digimon, you can use the delay ability, which is to one of your Digimon can Digivolve into a Gallantmon name card from your hand for free. So it's pretty good. Not as good as the other movie options, but I think this one has its uses. It's especially good against decks that hardcast Digimon. And actually with decks right now that hardcast your Ace Digimon, I think this actually has its uses. So we're running 2 of those, and you can Digivolve into your Gallantmon as well as your Gallantmon Crimson mode if you have Gallantmon already. So I think it's not bad. It's not as bad as people say. It's not amazing, but it's a nice option to have. So that is my current build. If you want to run more security bombs, you can kind of adjust the options if you want. If you don't like Crimson Savior, you can definitely take these out and run some other security bombs if you want. But I think for the Tamer lineup, it's pretty tight. I would not cut So for Tamers, I think the ratio I'm running is pretty solid, but if you want to adjust it according to your liking, you definitely can. But yeah, because deck space is really tight. As you can see, my lineup for my level 4s and 5s, I'm not running the most consistent amount, but it's okay. There's ways you can get your combo pieces, so I think it's fine. And there's a lot of decks out right now in the format that actually do run a less consistent lineup or a ratio in order to boost the number of options they have in the deck. Like not the option cards, but like options of other important combo pieces. So yeah, overall the deck is not as fast as some of the contenders right now, and it's not as doesn't have as much protection as some other ones. But I still think this deck is really fun to play, and it's got some good matchups. But compared to things like Family Dukemon, Magnamon, and what else? And Red Hybrid is pretty fast. I think this one requires a little bit more setup than those. And it takes a turn or two more for you to get fully built. But I think the deck, if it's smooth, if you're got a good hand and it's running smoothly, I think you have a lot of answers to a lot of decks. And the great thing is, if your opponent has things like Armor Purge and stuff that prevent you from deleting, you can still pop them, and if they don't pop, you still get the second part of the effect off because it didn't get deleted. So you'll be able to get your cake and eat it, just to slow your opponent down a little bit. Of course, if your opponent is running decks that want to get popped, you don't want to pop them. But I think, yeah, the deck is fun, and I do hope the deck gets more support in the future. I know I sound like super cope, but I don't know. I think this deck just needs better protection. The protection that we have right now is okay, but it's too easy to play around. So I would like some better protection. Like the Mega Dramon's protection is actually pretty good, but if I have a similar effect on a Gallantmon, that'd be great. Thanks, Bandai. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this deck profile, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you want to support the channel, feel free to use the links down below as well. But yeah, this is Karataku, and I'll be doing more BT-17 deck profiles as soon as possible. I'm still testing some decks out. I tested my Red Hybrid deck, and also tested Family Dukemon deck. So I'll probably be doing those soon. But yeah, this is Karataku, and I will see you guys next time.